murder, corruption, embezzlement, fraud, treason, terrorism. Those cases need proper trial.
All right, then.
And if you now crowd the court with simple theft, simple fighting, traffic offenses, occupying the time of the court, then they will not have time for these serious cases.
But there are fundamental things that need to be done if we're to practice properly the plea bargaining system, you think?
I want to, can I hear that again?
But there are some fundamental things that need to be done. Some lawyers argue that there's got to be some amendments. And for instance, if the plea bargaining agreement for this Justice Starbuck's matter had been written in black and white, if it were in the court records, who knows? It might have been a different matter entirely. You would not have had these arguments going back and forth saying, this is not what we agreed, or this is what we agreed.
You see, Chamberlain, I said that again before. I said one of the issues is that should we not, the process and the product should be a matter of records in open court. It should be subject to judicial scrutiny. And I gave areas of judicial scrutiny. The judge should assess the circumstances of the bargaining. The judge should assess whether the inducement, the benefits to the offender is so much as to sabotage the interest of the community of the victim. The judge should assess whether the punishment given is appropriate in relation to what the victim has lost, in relation to the needs of correction for the society, even in relation to the maintenance of community the values. And in the case of what we are talking about, I'm sorry that Justice Kalba is a scapegoat, because a lot of other judges are guilty of the same or even similar offenses. I mean, take the judge that give Odili perpetual injunction like it cannot be questioned. Why Odili's wife was promoted so fast to the Supreme Court. Anyway, that's another matter. Now, I'm saying with the cancer of corruption in the country, it is important, it is important that we should not apply plea bargaining to cases of corruption, because this country is going to be killed by corruption, and it's killing the country. And therefore, it is the last thing to benefit from plea bargaining. Plea bargaining are for minor offenses that do not do serious damage to the economy or the polity, and that are wasting our time by crowding our courtrooms. Again, I think I've answered your question.
If you say we should not apply plea bargaining to corruption cases, how many of the former governors who, even right from Nuhu Ribadu's time, have been tried and convicted? Because these matters will last forever in the courts, and that's taxpayers' money going down the drain.
Are you trying to, you know, what you have just done is to support my position, which is that the criminal justice system is so upside down that the only way you can get a conviction is through bargaining. And that anybody who has economic means, political power, social status, can get away. That's what you are trying to say. And which is what I said at the beginning.
No, what you just said now is that plea bargaining should not be applied to corruption cases.
Yes.
And I'm saying that if they are not applied to corruption cases, take for instance the cases of the former governors. How many of them have been convicted? The only ones that have been was on plea bargaining. The rest, you just keep going around the mill. No, not even going forward in any way.
I've heard you. What I'm saying, therefore, is that you are agreeing with me that the criminal justice system is mentally deranged. Because you are saying that the only way you can convict for crime of corruption is by plea bargaining. What kind of justice system is that? Don't they convict for corruption in the U.S.? Don't they convict for corruption in China? Don't they convict for corruption in Zambia? Don't they convict for corruption in UK? Well, is it by plea bargaining? But the observation you have made, or the question you have raised, is suggesting that the only way you could get a corrupt offender is by plea bargaining. That should not be acceptable to the country. The justice system should be such that as they can convict an armed robber, As they can convict a rapist, I can convict a murderer, she'll be able to convict. If they cannot do it,
but Prof,
if something
how was the
justice
James, how was the Bori case done?
The thing is overhauling, and the step that is being taken by Justice Aloma Mukhtar,
Prof,
is
how was the James Bori case
because
concluded?
all our predecessors in office, whether they are from Katsina or from Ilorin or from Zaria, they have not done what she has been able to do.
Right,
and if she can actually be fundamental, you know, excuse me, let me say this. Do you know that the new Pope, God bless the Catholics today, the new Pope has done certain things compared to what his predecessors are doing. Similarly, a Chief Justice can come and actually make a difference. But difference has to be made in terms of the character of our criminal justice system, which favors only those with money, power, and status. That is why the crime of corruption gets away with plea bargaining. And plea bargaining is not in our system, but if it's going to be applied, it should be applied for minor offenses that crowd the courtrooms. I insist on that point.
All right, then, even though James Bori's case was also the same way, but if you insist, Prof, I want to thank you for coming on. Femi Odekunle is a professor of criminology. Thank you for speaking with us today on Sunrise Daily. Well, let's take a quick one and go for the headline news. Adeshawa Josh is standing by with that. Prof could go on. Adeshawa, go on, please.
Thank you very much. Our top stories at this hour.